Well, go on, everybody. Lennox here from Simple123 Trader. This is the weekly playbook outlook for August 15th to Friday, August 20th. So Sunday, August 15th to Friday, August 20th. Hope everybody's doing well and are safe. Taking a look at all the futures, starting with the Australian dollar. And I'm on the monthly time frame. I'm just going to go through an analysis of overall what I'm seeing for the Aussie currently. Okay, so let me just kind of walk you through how I look at the charts overall. Now, this is the first time I'm looking at Aussie, US dollar, Aussie dollar on the futures. Okay, on the monthly time frame in a while. So, even from last week, we looked at it on the weekly. We started on the weekly, but this time I start on the monthly. So on the monthly overall, what I'm seeing, and this is how I kind of break the chart down. I'm seeing this pattern, and we have moved up. But the key thing here is that we did not break above this level. We did not break here to make a new trend, as it were. So what it signifies at this point is that the buyers were not strong enough to push price above this level. So based on that, we would expect a continuation to the downside. So this can be, of course, in short term. And when I say short term, we're on the monthly time frame. So you can see it took a whole year just to get from here to there. That took a whole year to do that. So when I say short term, 2022 is here. So this move down could take us back down to this level, and that could take to the end of this year, essentially. Okay, so continued downward motion here, trend for Aussie for the remainder of the year, basically. At that point, when we get down to this level, you can see how close we are to 2022 here. We could then push back up again to the upside. Okay, but in the short term, we can see our trend is to the downside. Okay, so looking at right here now, so in this overall monthly, the controlling move was up at the top here. So that controlling move gave us this move to the downside. So now it's looking like we could certainly continue. We could even break this level, of course, but that would take us past 2022 into 2022, mid 2022 area for that to happen, for us to break that level. Okay, so it is possible for that to happen, but right now our trajectory, like I say, our trend is to the downside. So dropping to the weekly time frame, now we can kind of take a look. Again, the key overriding pattern here is head and shoulders, this big move, and we're on our way down. Okay, so looking for price in the short term to reach down to this level. At this point, we could get a bounce. Okay, but we're still on the way down with Aussie with weakness. So for this week, we're still heading to the downside, Aussie weakness. Okay, so continued weakness for Aussie. Actually, I'm playing Aussie US dollar as we speak, and it's in quite the dive to the downside. So Aussie US dollar weakness. All right, so that's how I kind of break it down. We could do that for all of these pairs. It would take quite a while, of course, for me to do all that, but Bitcoin on the monthly, you can see quite the run up. It too created a head and shoulders here. We'll see that better on the weekly, and now it's pushing right back up. And I figure coming back up into the $50,000 area is definite possibility. So it too created head and shoulders over here, and we broke through the neckline, and now it's trying to come back up towards that neckline, which could hit 50,000. But after that, I think all bets are off and we're heading back down. So short term on the daily, we're pushing to the upside, but we're almost done this move to the upside. So I can see this, like I say, touching 50,000 perhaps. So a short-term move to the upside, maybe touching 50,000, and then all bets are off. We're heading back down. All right. Crude oil. Crude oil. Okay, on the monthly. So crude oil, huge spike up, could not break this resistance. Okay, so very, very strong resistance here. So it's pulling back. Is it a pullback that will take us back down? Doesn't look so. It looks like we're going to make another assault at that high. But right now, in the short term, we're in a slow move back down. Okay, if we do not break this level, even if we do not break this level, we could get a bounce here and continue back up. But key is, do we break this level here? If so, then we'd be looking at breaking this level. If we break that level, then we're heading back down again. We could come all the way down to this level. Okay, but right now, short term, we're down and looking for further down in oil. So the key levels right there and here for this week. Okay, the Canadian dollar, start on the monthly. Okay, it too reached resistance, kind of faked everybody out. Everybody looking for this to go long, but nope, decided to pull back. Okay, so is this a legitimate pullback and we're going to head straight down? It's possible. However, let's take a look at it on the weekly, and it looks like it might be done this move down, and we could turn back to the upside. So we could see a further down this going into this week, but let's take a closer look on the daily. It's almost, you can see it's almost setting up a head and shoulders here. So kind of a long neck here, but that could be a setup here. So any breach to the downside, I'm kind of looking at this going something like this and then continuing back up, but any breach of this level and we're on our way down still. Okay, so on the daily, it looks very weak at this point, so we could see further weakness coming back down. So basically, we're just retracing this move back down. So it's totally possible to come back down to this level even before we bounce. So weakness in the Canadian dollar going into this week. Looking at the US dollar on the monthly. Okay, so quite the drop, came back down into a support area, and that support area is right about here, and you can see it's an area, and we hit into that area. Looks like we're forming a move to go back up, but it's having a little bit of a struggle. Okay, so let's see if it's going to continue going up. Remember, we're still on the monthly, or we're going to break through and this level at this point. So right now, there's some strength there. Let's go to the weekly, and it looks more like we're inside of a channel going this way, and we're going to push back down to these levels here. So midway point sort of thing. So dropping to the daily, we can see for this week, weakness is in the cards for the US dollar. So only way we're not going to get weakness here is if this pulls back up and breaks this level. So it is totally possible we could break this level, but right now, as it sits, we have some weakness. So a breach of these levels here at this current level, breach to the downside, we're heading down further. We could come back down to this level before we get that bounce, but looks like a little bit weak at this point. So we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the week, but we could get a bounce here, definitely to the upside. Okay, so be watchful on that. Of course, all the members of the Simple 123, we're watching this with, of course, bated breath, because this gives us the impetus to trade the major pairs. So right now, with it looks like the U.S. dollar is gaining a little bit of strength, and that could propel it to the upside. So we'll be watching for weakness in euro and Aussie and so forth, which is what we looked at Aussie already. So here is the euro on a monthly. So if the US dollar goes up, then this will continue to the downside, and it looks like that's shaping up that way. We could come back down. Okay, so monthly, very weak looking right there on the monthly. On the weekly, weak as well, but we're at a critical point. So are we going to break through this level? If so, we've got free reign all the way down, back down to that level. So let's go to the daily and take a look, see what it looks like. Looks like definite weakness here. We could get a little bit of a push back up in the short term, but I think that will be short-lived, and we're going to be heading back down again. So be watchful for that. If we do get a push to the upside, it's just similar to what the US dollar is doing, a push to the downside first before we go to the upside. So this could be a push to the upside first before we go to the downside. Okay, so let's take a look at the Swiss franc. We'll go to the monthly on that one. And you can see the Swiss franc here. The main developing pattern is this move up to this level. So now it's trying again to push to the upside, looking like it's got a little bit of strength, although it's reaching a bit of a congestion area. But overall, looking like we should get some strength going into this week. And you can see it started already, a big push on that daily bar from Friday, and now opening to push back to the upside. So worst case scenario here, we're going to fall back through and break this level, but it looks more like we could get something like this and then another push to the upside. Okay. All right, that's Swiss. Let's take a look at gold on the monthly. So gold trying very hard to push back to the upside on gold. So big long push up, pull back, and you can see we came right back to the same spot on the support, and now trying to push off that support area. So on the weekly, it's trying to push back, but as you can see, a lot of rejection of price to the lows, and now we're pushing back to the upside. So on the daily, this could be short-lived. We've come down quite a bit, pushed back up, but I think this could be short-lived, this move to the upside, and we could be heading back down again, at least to retrace this move. Okay, so something like that. So we'll see how that plays out. So weakness in gold going into this week. Let's take a look at the Japanese yen on the monthly. Uh, you can see the Japanese yen here overall has just been in a channel and is breaking to the downside out of the channel. So if we follow this now, are we heading to the downside permanently here? And not really. It looks like we're going to bounce. So we're basically retracing this move, so we could come all the way back up into this area before we get a turnaround. So strength in the Japanese yen is looking like going into this week, and you can see that's what's setting up already. Okay, the New Zealand dollar would be similar to Aussie, head and shoulders pattern heading to the downside. So weekly, there's our head and shoulders, and we broke through our neckline area and we're heading to the downside. So any moves to the upside is just opportunity to sell, and that's what it's looking like. It's setting up on the daily. We'd be looking for continued moves to the downside. So this is what's don't see this breaking these highs at all. If any push to the upside is opportunity to sell, so we go back down. Okay, let's take a look at Mexican peso on the monthly. And on the monthly, it too has had quite the push. It's trying very hard to get through this resistance support. You can see it was previous support all the way across, and now it's turned to resistance and looking to break through. So is there going to be enough oomph on this to break through this week? It's possible, but it's very, very tough area. So right now it looks weak, so we could see further weakness going into this week. So I'm not looking for that to break through at any time this week at all. All right, let's take a look at the British pound on the monthly. Okay, very strong moves to the upside, but it too is hit resistance area, and we could be heading back down again. This whole area here is resistance, and just in line with the US dollar. US dollar strength would give this some weakness. And then you can see this too is looking like it might want to set up a head and shoulders here. And so we could get a little bit of a move back up that would form our head and shoulders, and then we'd be on our way back down again. So on the daily, looking at this, it tried very hard to push back up, but it doesn't seem to have the oomph. and we're looking like we're heading back to the downside. So that's what I'm seeing overall, moves to the downside for the majors, these major pairs here. All right, and lastly, we look at silver on the monthly. Silver having a hard time trying to break to the upside, and see if I can get rid of this. There we go. Okay, so it's in very much in a gyration channel area and looking weak. So dropping to the weekly, we're heading to the downside quite quickly. If we break through these levels here, this support area here, all bets are off. We're heading down. It looks like that's what's happening. Of course, we could get a bounce here as well, but on the daily, looking quite weak overall. So heading down on silver. Taking a look at the US 2000, the Russell 2000, quite the move to the upside. This is on the monthly, and we could see quite a collapse here. You know, we're inside of a channel here, but it could collapse all the way back down into this area. Totally can, but that's a long-term look. Weekly, you can see we're just kind of sideways, and we're just chopping up and down. So right now we're heading to the downside again. So a little bit of weakness going into this week, and you can see that right there on the daily. That should continue to the downside on the Russell 2000. Okay, the US 30 monthly, huge moves, new highs all last week and so forth, still pushing to the upside. Daily still pushing to the upside, but looking to turn a little bit now. So we could see a further drop as well in the Dow. Okay, so US 500, similar type of dance, lots of push to the upside. Weekly pushing very high to the upside, breaking the new highs last week, but we could see a little bit of a downturn this week. Okay, and lastly, the US Tech Group, US Tech. Let's try it again. US Technology Group doesn't want to switch. Oh, there it is. Okay, so on the monthly, again, similar to US 500 and Dow 30, big, huge pushes to the upside, breaking to new highs, but it's looking a little bit weak now. So be watchful. This is more sideways move, so this looks like it has potential to continue to the upside, but be careful if you're playing, because you could stay in this range for a while before it breaks through. Okay. All right, so that's a look at everything that's setting up for this week. This is a long video, and hope everybody has a profitable week. Keep your eye on the US dollar if you're playing the majors, and profitable trading to everyone. Be safe. We're done now. Thank you.